Yeah, well, I appreciate the recognition.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, because I know superintendents across the state, not everybody's got one of you, and so we're very appreciative. Thanks.
Thank you.
And again, I will invite you to stay, but I suspect you're going to leave.
Well, I gotta go home and privacy where I can show my fluster.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great work.
All right, moving on to curriculum and policy, beginning with a discussion on the cost grant.
Yeah, we talked, oh gosh, I'm gonna say February or March, it was before we were out of the business of meeting as a regular board at regular times. And I mentioned that we might be looking at having a school resource officer through a grant called the COPS grant. And I'm gonna have Chief Murphy talk about that for a little bit, but the city knows that they are recipients, is that still correct? Aaron?
We are, yes.
Yes, and while it's a city school district team approach, it's really the city who's the recipient of the grant. And what this grant will allow us to do, and we will not be voting on this tonight, but what the grant will allow us to do, if we want to, is to form a partnership with the city. It'll allow us to form a partnership to put a police officer in our schools, but not for the reasons you might think. The old days of having a patrolman or patrolwoman in the buildings isn't what this is all about. It's about community relations, community outreach, forming relationships with students and staff, and those types of things. And I'll let Chief talk about it for a little bit, but it's really a community-based outreach type program. We believe that we can fund this with Fund 80, and just as a quick little refresher, that's community education funding, which does not affect Fund 10, so the money that we would take to spend to support this program can't be used to hire teachers or to hire additional coaches or those types of things. So we believe we can fund our share of that through funding. Our share for the first 3 years would be $37,500 per year. And then part of the regulation of the grant is that you have to fund it 100% without any grant money in year 4, which our share would then be approximately $70,000. The split would be 75-25. The city provides all the training that is needed, provides the vehicle and the equipment and those types of things. And this individual will be in the school district somewhere, not in a particular building or in an office, but somewhere in the district, 75% of the time, which would be our school contact days, which is our student contact days, which is about 170 days a year. During the non-schooling time, that officer can help out with staffing shortages during vacation time, winter holiday, those types of things. So it's not a very brief nutshell of what this COPS grant is all about, but I'm going to let Aaron talk a little bit about what we had talked about regarding the purpose and the true focus of what this officer will be doing.
Well, I had to throw my notes away. So just, thank you. Thanks for having me here. Just a brief history on these COPS grants, if you're not familiar. They're funded by the Department of Justice federally. They came in to play in about the late 90s. The city has funded 2 positions successfully through COPS grants, and then the grants went away for a number of years. We did meet last spring at the superintendent's request as to just start having a conversation about having police presence in the buildings, how we could fund that. And shortly after that meeting, DOJ released these grants with a very short window to complete the grant. So superintendent and I did have a lot of phone conversations, and we decided that I think we had 2 weeks to do it at most. So I just did it. We informed our people that needed to know. They're very competitive. We did go, obviously, the school resource route, not a patrol officer route. They're 2 different grants. And this is a nationwide process. And in the state of Wisconsin, only 12 were funded. Only 12 agencies receive grants. So we are one of them. Mark did touch on the finances behind it. And again, this is my math. And with all due respect, I've been trying to educate my children at home the last few months. So people with greater minds will need to check the math. But yes, the costs, we see it as a 9-month split between the school district and the city. The cost to the district should be about $37,500 per year. And as Mark said, with the 4th year, the 2 entities have to commit to carry that grant through the 4th year. This does put a police presence in every building every day, to include Dresser. It does put a marked squad car outside of these buildings all day long. And we do see it as the ability to connect with our kids, to not take such an enforcement role. I think anyone that maybe has been here when the police have responded to calls, and has probably seen how we handle things, and it's not authoritarian, it's not a disciplined approach, it's more of a community-based education. How can we make this better? And yes, there are a lot of things that we've had to take action on. I didn't bring our statistics here, I apologize for that, I didn't have a lot of time, but calls in the last few years have increased here. We don't have a great number of safety issues. We have had a few, maybe 2 or 3 true threats that we worked on pretty early in the morning and communicated with that. And I would say, I believe those threats came through social media. And although I present this as a means to connect with the kids, first and foremost, to me, is safety of the schools and the kids here. And I think just having someone here to connect with these kids is going to really get us into their realm a little more and open us up to more of their social media lives, and maybe getting up in front of any potential issues. So I think that's really the most that we can, the last thing I would note is, when we talked last spring, it just so happened that we were, and this isn't a significant issue, but we were retiring an older squad car that I opted to hang on to in the event that this was a possible, viable thing we were going to do. So we have held on to that squad car just in the event that the school and city move forward. So that really saves us about $50,000 between the purchase of a car and equipping a car. I see this is your employee, so to speak, under the realm of myself and the superintendent, and of course contracts through the police unions. But we do see it as an opportunity to have someone here, have them at events, and this is, I'm talking about every day that school is in session.
Mr. Brandt had mentioned that the city would be doing the training for this position. A lot of what I would anticipate the position titling would be interactions with the kids, which is not that you don't interact with kids in law enforcement, but it's kind of the realm of what educators do. Would there be kind of a hand-in-hand training between the two, or?
There actually is a nationally based school resource officer training. I have a son who also does this job, and he just went through it probably last fall, and spoke very highly of it. So there is some actual structured training for this. I don't see, we, the city, have a training fund for officers, so don't see that as something that I'm placing on the school. Officers need a certain number of hours every year in training anyway, and it's up to the city to provide that.
And kind of to dovetail a little bit off of that question, should we move forward with this, should we choose to go forward with this, we would come to a mutually agreeable contract, if you would, a memorandum of understanding to the city and the school district. I gave Aaron one of those, just a copy of one that another district uses. And it kind of dots the i's and crosses the t's as far as who's responsible for what. But truly, Aaron and I have a great relationship, and this would be a true partnership on how we train this individual, our expectations in the school district. certainly expectations from the city won't be much different than any other officer when it's city time. But for school time, the administrative team would work with Aaron to make sure that our expectations are there. Again, we do benefit from a school safety perspective, but it's so much more about relationship building and so forth, so.
And it is a benefit to the police department as well, obviously. No doubt summer is our busiest time, and this affords me another person out on the street when school's out of session. I see it as a potential cost saving to my budget, so I don't have to rely so much on overtime or part-time people.
So is this, the cost, 78,000, whatever it is, how much of that is, estimated to be for like salary, and how much for other things?
I think, so when I wrote this, I looked at, the top pay for an officer. I didn't look at entry pay, so there's no surprises down the road. Salary and benefits, are about $85,000 to $90,000 per officer. This grant affords $125,000 over 3 years. Did that answer it?
Yeah. So our cost, so is it 74 or something?
It'd be $37,500 for the first 3 years each year, and then the last year would be $75,000. And then the city cost would be $25,000 the last year.
And then so in year 5, then we have to
Yeah, it'll be up to the city and the district to say, okay, grant is over, do we want to continue this relationship?
We do have to commit for 4 years.
Yep.
Otherwise, we owe the feds a lot of money. So you can't back out and you have to commit to the 4th year.
And did you say that it includes like some home athletic events too, or not really?
Yeah, we can, within reason, we'll have the opportunity to schedule this individual as needed. It certainly all will not be during the school day, so if we have a large athletic event here or a large, once the auditorium gets built, perhaps we'll be bringing in outside presenters, and if we have 600 people we expect, maybe we would like his presence there or her presence there. Yeah, we have some flexibility to have those folks here. For example, at least in the last 4 years, not counting this year because we didn't have graduation, there's always been a uniformed officer that Aaron has made sure that they come up with. At least they're here for part of that ceremony. So yeah, we have that ability to do that. So.
And it wouldn't be, the officer is not going to be in full uniform with 35 pounds of gear on. Okay, the officer is wearing soft clothes. He or she will be armed. That's just part of it. But you're not going to see an officer walking around the building in full uniform. Maybe, again, we have some hurdles to go through. We have to commit to this if we do this, but maybe at the larger events, we might say, yeah, we want someone in uniform at the large events, graduation things.
I know Unity has one, right?
Yes.
Do any of the other surrounding districts have?
Clayton does. Osceola was a part of our discussion last spring. They are interested, but I believe funding is an issue.
Yeah. So Osceola does not.
Did Amory?
I thought Amory did, but I don't know that for a fact.
Amory has and has not over the few years. I think right now they don't.
Even if they're a little further away, Richmond has 2. Again, they're a much larger district, but nonetheless, they have 2. Going east, I believe Final Cameron has at least a part-time, and I believe Barron has a part-time. I believe they contract with the county for theirs. But yes, Unity does have full-time.
Yeah, for several years.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of walk through, say, I mean, I understand, obviously, there's disturbances or something where you're needed for that kind of stuff, but it's just a normal day where there's not much going on. What's the resource officer doing then?
So, we see it as an opportunity for you to employ that person to, step into some classroom, do some education. And again, I'm not real versed yet on what this training I spoke of offers, but there is an actual curriculum that is a part of that training. Again, my son does it, and he came back with a wealth of knowledge. But
I think a lot of it is in the classrooms at all levels. Not necessarily teaching, but maybe they'll come into an elementary classroom and spend 10 minutes there talking about what police officers do, because the first connotation most children have of police officers is they pull people over because they're going too fast in a car, or something along those lines. But this gives them an opportunity to see a police officer in a completely different role and get to know them, not necessarily as a person, but as a person in the community. This person we're going to also ask that they do some community outreach, maybe, and I use this one because it's a convenient one, but maybe given a night, they will do a cybersecurity series for parents. You know, what to look for, what the new trends are in dangerous websites and that type of stuff, or, you know, on social media. Because these folks have access to information that sometimes we have access to, sometimes we don't. Certainly, part of their day can be, we don't expect them, nor do we want them to be our assistant principal. We don't want them, we're going to get out of class and say, how can you work in school, you're late, that's the principal's job. Now, will they investigate if there's theft or, you know, wrongs or those things? Absolutely, because we call the police if there was a theft or a drug issue anyway. So, you know, we have to the admin team to work with Aaron to kind of create a list of wants for classrooms. And by wants, I don't mean physical wants, but we would really love this person to go making this up, going down to Dresser Kindergarten and start talking about, well, right around the Halloween time, bringing police officers to those younger grades, and how can you trick or treat safely, or those types of things, you know. And I've seen, back in Menominee, we had a resource officer, he probably had requests for classrooms for 3 times as many days as there were in a calendar. And sometimes those calendars get flipped upside down if we have an issue in school. Most of the time, this is going to be the Norfolk Region community.
And I think what most of you know and most teachers know is that sometimes the school is the safest place for the kids. Their personal lives aren't the best, and when we come in for things, we might get a 30 or 40-minute snapshot into what they're dealing with at home, which isn't really a lot to deal with a particular call. And I would hope that those children in need would gravitate towards the proper officer here. A few years ago, we did the district attorney, Polk County Social Services and the police department did a presentation here to the middle school. Essentially, not so much cybersecurity, but trying to tell kids not to put themselves out on social media. And the next day, we received a complaint from 2 females that they were being essentially duped into sending inappropriate photos. And we did investigate, and that person went to prison. So that's from one hour conversation presented, not by us, presented properly by the DA and Human Services, and the victims came forward and felt empowered enough to say, yeah, we need to talk about this. So the reality is there's more of that out there, and it's, from the police perspective, it's our job to find it and deal with it. So I would hope that this empowers us.
Do school resource officers have like available times for students to make like appointments where they just kind of want to like, they're like, oh, this might be kind of your territory, I just want to talk.
Yeah, there's definitely we would allot some time for that, certainly, because I was hitting, actually, it's a good segue to what I was going to say. Even at a bare minimum, which you know is going to be more, this is one additional adult ally that students can go to that they can trust. And so that's an excellent question. You know, in other districts I've been in, they have absolutely had office hours, and I know Aaron will be open to this, always by appointment. You know, well, I can't make it during office hours, so you be here at 7:30 in the morning. Yeah, I'll be here. We'll have a conversation.
And our enforcement approach on things, I mean, let's be honest, most things in schools are low level. maybe did have sexual assault, but, someone brings a drug to school or alcohol, or there's a fight in the hallway, okay? There's two avenues you can go through the judicial system to deal with that. One really puts children more in the system, where we have a municipal court, and generally it's a fine, a conversation with the judge. Juveniles aren't put on supervision. It's more of a first-time offender approach to let's get your attention and deal with this instead of sending them through an intake through state court. So we have that in our back, and then we've been doing that, for years here. So I don't want people to think that cops are here, people are going to jail type thing. That's not us.
Is there though some that, I don't know how you necessarily do this, like, at some point, we bring dogs in the SNF lockers, and would they be like part of that too? Or
We
not?
do.
We it every day, but.
No, so we did add a canine to our department. The dog is graduating Thursday. They're turning a tassel on the cap, and he'll be on the road. The officer and the dog have been in training for 4 months. So this department will have a canine available. We do that when we're asked. We don't just call, we don't knock on the door and say we're coming in. That's generally, Mrs. Ryan will set that up.
So that's not necessarily would be the role, obviously, this person isn't trained with a canine or anything, but they aren't necessarily here to investigate unless they have to. I mean, I don't know if that's the right word, but we're not going to be nosing through all our.
No, absolutely not.
Cars and.
No, absolutely not. That we're not, honestly, for the past 6-7 years, you've had a marked squad sitting here every morning. And that's just for a presence, to hopefully make people think there's a cop here, but it's just, hey, we're at school, there's a marked squad sitting there, hopefully it just kind of settles things. But no, we're not gonna start shaking kids down, we're not gonna start popping lockers open. Okay, you as a school have that authority and that ability through the contracts the children have to, and the parents have to sign. That's your role. If you come to us and say, that locker doesn't smell right, you have the ability to open it. And then you can come to us and say, yeah, can you deal with this? So, no, we're not gonna, it's not our role.
And would there be room at each building level for the principals to kind of map out what they would like to see of a resource officer?
9 months out of the year, it's your employee. So, we would work together, collaborate, and I have officers that are excited about this, that are willing to give it a shot if this comes to fruition, so.
How long does the training take?
I think it's a week.
I think it's 4 days or 5 days, and it's a national academy. Academy is the wrong picture. I mean, they're not running through like a training academy, but it's an excellent curriculum. I looked it over as part of our safety training last summer. We were introduced to it. Part of the safety grant that we got, they talked about the National School Resource Officers Association and training that they go through, and it's really. I'm a novice here, I talk about police work, but it's really less police work than it is how do you become an effective person within the school. And by effective, I don't mean how do you get to know a kid so you get private information, but how do you become that advocate for those students, how do you become those allies for those students. And on the same side, how do you continue to be a police officer, because you still are still an officer. And it's really a well thought out curriculum. They don't just hire you and throw you in school and say, learn how to deal with 1,100 different protocols. It's a good training.
It's not on our agenda for voting tonight. Assuming we vote to approve it in July, would there be enough time for a resource officer to be on?
Well, here's what I don't know. So, Department of Justice has not made official announcements. We have we were awarded a grant. They will not reach out to me, probably till early fall with, any type of direction, announcement, deadlines. But I have seen the list, we are on it, been confirmed, yes, you have a grant, but, because of COVID, things are delayed until August or September. So I don't know any timelines, I don't know, drop dead date, so to speak, as to when we would have to say yes or no. And, I'm hoping for that soon, but I don't think it'll be before school starts.
Yeah, I think that's accurate, but I think we can do an awful lot behind the scenes work, sort of getting the MOU. Let's say the board approves this, I think you and I can work on the MOU, which would still require approval by the board and city council, I assume. You can make preparations for hiring, you can't post a position, whatever, but you can get your job description finalized and those types of things, and once the DOJ says, knock yourself out, we can have our feet on the ground. But yeah, I would say September would be ambitious. I think it's probably gonna be October if I had to guess. Yeah, it's a little bit of a standstill, because it's kind of a funny thing we know about, but you haven't been more.
No. In fact, someone other than me called to say congratulations, and that's how I found out. So I called DOJ, the people that have the grant, and I said, I haven't received anything. They said, yeah, you're not going to for a while.
Knowing the uncertainty of budgeting right now, it might be okay that we have a little more time to. Board members, any other questions?
Certain questions pop up as you think about it over the next week or so, email them to myself or Aaron.
Or just call me. Ask around. If you have, ask other districts how their programs are going. And I think you probably hear some positive things, so.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I will invite you to stay as well.
I'm boring.
Thank you. Let's move on to our staff handbook edition, the pandemic protocol discussion.
Yeah, even though this is a few pages long, essentially this boils down to, this came from WSB as a suggested add to the handbook, not a mandatory type of thing. And really what it does is it clearly outlines the district's expectations of employees, the district's responsibilities, protocols as far as when should you stay home, when should you get sent home, when can you come back once you've been sent home, those types of things. And while federal CDC guidelines and so forth would support most of what's in here anyway, WASB felt that it was a wise choice, if the district wants to put this in their handbook. We would put it in the front in the general section. I didn't get to that part of numbering it in section then, but the content was included in your packet. And like I said, primarily it really just outlines what we're going to do for our employees, what we're going to expect our employees to do for themselves. And then it talks about, it has the symptoms of COVID-19 in here, the coronavirus. It suggests things that we can do as a workplace as far as if it's feasible to have flexible work schedules, work at home if it's feasible for certain positions, that's certainly possible. It talks about the requirement for face coverings, which now has backed down a little bit. Not to the point where we don't wear them, but in here, we can, if according to this, mandate people to wear face coverings. And we'll talk about that as we continue to move forward for our August opening or September opening. And again, as you read through this, if you read through it again, remember, this isn't a student-based thing, this is for our employees. So, it talks about a lot of different things. It has lots of resources in here, several web links, those types of things. It even goes through some types of things, sanitation, hygiene, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, put your mouth in your elbow when you cough, and those types of things. If nothing else, it's a good reminder of things that we should be doing. So it's not anything that's heavy, but I think it's a good addition. So not for approval certainly tonight.
I read through it and I like the idea of putting it in the handbook because I think we're going to have black and white documents of obvious and step-by-step procedures. And there's no better place to put it in the handbook since it's all staff.
Yeah.
I personally think we should adopt that.
Okay.
These are just gonna be recommendations, not.
Well, some are mandates, for example, if you, if you have the symptoms, or if you come into work and, Rita sees that one of her employees doesn't look well, our school nurse will go over there, take a temperature, if it's 100.4 or higher, off they go. Simply because that's the CDC tolerance right now. If Rita thinks somebody doesn't look healthy, and that's all she has because she has no solid proof, we wouldn't most likely send somebody home. It outlines, what Rita should do, call the school nurse, have her come over, those types of things. It has a special section on temperature screening on here. Now, I'm not sure either direction, are we going to screen each employee when they come into work? I doubt it, that hasn't been decided yet. There's just some logistics there that I don't think are quite honestly manageable at this point. And it's right now suggested either way, whether you temperature screen or not. It also talks about, restricting or banning or restricting in-person meetings when electronic meetings will suffice, those types of things. Talks about, I talked about working if possible. So it's things that an employee should be aware of. It's not a get you thing, but it's, what can you do to protect yourself? What should you be looking for? And quite honestly, the message is in there. If you don't feel well, please stay home. We know we're going to have probably some staffing concerns when people call in sick because, let's face it, the age of our substitute teacher pool is on the higher end. And so we don't know exactly how many substitute teachers we'll have this year. And every district in the nation is going to face those concerns. But it's really a two-way street. If you don't feel well, stay home. Here's some things you should look for. If you come to work and you don't feel well, talk to your school nurse. If we see that you don't feel well, here's what we're going to do. So it's really not a gotcha thing by any stretch.
How about, you talked about the substitutes, is it because, we're not saying they can't do it, you're anticipating they won't want to?
We're in fact going to send out a survey this week to them. Basically, and it's not a hold you to it, but we just want to get a picture. We're going to be 3 choices. I'm planning on coming back, I have some reservations, but I would still like to come back, or cleaning my way out on the back until this is taken care of. So that gives us at least an idea. So no, it would not be that we would not allow them in. They have to make a personal decision because the nice thing about being a sub is you are your own boss. Technically, you decide when you want to work. So.
How about I know it's probably a little bit earlier, but even education for primarily the staff, I would say is what the masks technically do. A cloth mask that you see, I've got whatever. That's only protecting you from me. It's not protecting me from somebody else and, any of that kind of stuff. And there's people that walk around with the construction N95s that think they're more protected than they are, and, different things like that. So is there any thoughts to making sure we have staff educated in our orientation or whatever?
Yeah, we're going to have to spend some time in our 4 days, what I call preschool, in service, educating them, like you guys said, this is true, this isn't true type stuff.
Which changes every week. So.
Yeah, and that's okay. The concept of keeping their own room clean, and that doesn't mean I want to convert all 78 professional educators into custodians. What can you do, what can you offer your students to keep the rooms sanitary? We'll have sprays, we'll have hand sanitizers, we'll have, I call them Clorox, so I change it to Clorox, so I have to say the library on it. They're the same concept, they're just a different brand. So, what can you do, what can you offer the teachers? What can they do in between classes to maybe, clean up the room a little bit, from a sanitary perspective? We have a spray that you can spray on the doorknob, 3 minutes later it's sanitary. So those types of things. Yes, we will absolutely have some in-service, which will take away from some of the other things that we normally do on in-service. But right now, this is a priority. We got to keep people healthy, and it's not just the kids, it's important, we gotta keep our staff healthy, we gotta keep our kids healthy so that we can have some semblance of, I don't even know what normal is anymore, but a normal school. Because while our staff was magnificent from March through the end of the year, it's not something that we can sustain forever. Because not all students learn virtually well, some do fabulous, some don't. But the goal is to bring the kids back, because if nothing else, the social interaction is important. And even though social interaction, if they have a different meaning, it's important for them to be their peers. So we need to train our staff to do all the things that they can do to keep their roots clean as possible.
And also you'll be training students.
Absolutely.
The new conduct.
No, you are absolutely correct. What does social distancing mean? Even though they are kindergarten, you can still explain in their terms what being 6 feet apart is, because maybe not a lot of kindergartners know what 6 feet apart is, but a lot of them know what blue are. Those have to be 6 feet long. So I mean, it'll take some creativity, and our staff is as creative as any staff I've ever been with. So.
I already saw that in March before school was out, when we knew the virus was out there. Our 4K that we placed most of the time, seeing her ABCs before she knew her hands were totally clean. Or she'd lay down and stretch her arms out and say, I have to stay that far away from you. So.
Yeah. So
4K there already did.
All elementary kids.
No, their arms.
Matt hit it right ahead there. We will have to educate our children about something that we generally don't do, particularly as hard as we're going to hit. So certainly we teach personal hygiene and those types of things. But this is going to be throughout multiple days, lots of different topics. You know, it's hard for children not to hug each other, particularly at the younger ages. We have to kind of try to regulate that. So.
Get the old ruler out.
2 yardsticks away, right?
Oh,
So the administrators have a lot of work. You have to communicate to the students, like, I'm thinking of, for example, high school kids who have to just communicate your expectations clearly. Like, you're in the classroom, you know, you're not messing around with your buddy, or you are, or what? You'll just have to.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit of a feeling out process, because it would challenge anybody to say we've been through this before. So, you know, we'll make a mistake here and there, but the object is to make sure that the knowledge and the information going out is identical or similar, and that as classroom teachers teach their children, they convey the information very similarly too. And you know what is going to be a great tool in our toolbox, if I don't like to say, is the fact that we are a very good PBIS school district, because what's the key to PBIS? Consistent language, regardless if Rita's teaching a classroom, I'm teaching a classroom, or Matt's teaching a classroom. The same words are used to mean the same thing. So we're already there from that perspective. Now we're going to take that talent and conveying how we're going to function as a school district comes to that.
Talking about remote workers and stuff like that, I know you can't empty out your offices, you got to have somebody there, but if you thought about, even if somebody does a lot of phone answering, they could do that at home, if you have very soft phones and different things like that, be able to.
Yeah, we actually, during the end of March and April, most of our folks were able to function pretty well at home. Some more than others, because some you don't have to physically be here. I know he's listening right now. Brian Craig could probably do 95% of his job at home. But anybody who doesn't have to have human interaction, but they are primarily a phone answering type person, those phones can forward home. That absolutely can happen. And the nice thing is, you know, certainly we take out the biggest block of our employees and teachers, you know, they can't do their job at home if the students are here. But for anybody who can, we certainly will allow that to occur. We're probably somewhat of an unusual industry that we can't do a lot from home if our customers are here. But, you know, there are some positions that could function from home if they had to. You know, I think of community ed can do an awful lot of planning, registration, updating of the calendar, those types of things. If she were to get ill or be exposed and had to stay home for 14 days, probably could work and get most of her job from home. I don't think we have as many positions as we would like, but, you know, somebody said, what about custodians? I said, they can't do custodians from home when that day, Gary George can't mow the grass from home. But yeah, I mean, anybody that can function from home, we are pretty well set up here.
Questions? Anybody else have questions about the pandemic protocol? That'll come up, I assume,
Next board meeting, we'll approve that if the board is so inclined.
Perfect. Moving on to our financial conversation then, a review of budget.
Yeah, you've had a budget report like you've seen before, and, the numbers look very good. There's 65% of our budget has been extended through the month of May, so there's 1 month left. And you hear me say this a lot, and I'm going to continue to say a lot. If budgeting were perfectly linear, we should be at about 91.6% of our budget expended right now. But before you look at that number and say, oh, gee whiz, we're going to have all kinds of money, please keep in mind, June is a relatively heavy expenditure month, even though we're almost through it. None of that is in this report here. We have final payrolls that need to be reflected, sometimes final billings like for utilities and insurances and those types of things. So, you know, we don't, and the one thing we also don't know until we go through audit is what exactly will be our Fund 1027, which is special education, the transfer, because we budget for that, and sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. So this is a very good number. I'm not here to pour water on our excitement, but I also want to temper that excitement with the fact that there's room to, or not room, but there's an expectation that that number certainly will escalate after we pay all of our June bills. So, but it's a good number. We have confirmation of our audit. Was that in one of those 3 emails today, I believe? So I'm thinking it'll begin on Monday the 13th.
Not on site, it's all virtual.
Oh, it's all virtual this year.
He will only come on site on the few items that he cannot do remotely.
Okay.
But we are as soon as July rolls around, we're gonna start working on it virtual. So I'm assuming pretty much the month of July is gonna be audit work for us. More than, it's not gonna be constant like it is when they're here.
Yeah. So the nice thing is they started to do some of this last year, not because they wanted to do a virtual audits, but they developed a secure system where they would ask for reports, or we would put them in the secure system, they take the reports and look at them, which made the final audit process 2 days.
Yeah, he was on site for 2 days.
Yeah.
As opposed to 4 in the
Yeah.
past.
So the nice thing is, Lorraine has been through this once from getting them the reports perspective. So we at least know now that it's in the works, and we'll know probably, hopefully, the last meeting of July, perhaps what our fund balance is, much like we've done in the 5 years.
So doesn't this money have to be spent by the end of June? It's only a week away, unless they kind of idea where we're at.
Well, we do, but I'm saying this report here doesn't reflect any of that, and we wanted those final numbers to wrap up so that we can give you a final report in July. So, yeah, we have one small check run that has to go out yet, but we have both June's payrolls that aren't in here yet, which are done, or almost done, I should say. Friday's the last day.
So the whole process, what I call Christmas in June, we have all this money left over that we spent, so don't we have to spend that by July 1st?
No. That's what we do the July process for, is we designate what's called the designated fund balance, and then that, for lack of a better term, counts as being spent as we spend it for next year. Because you have designated as a school board to be spent on certain things.
When does that have to be designated?
We'll do that after audit, which will be the second meeting in July. Hopefully that process will slow down because it's a virtual audit, but he usually has that number pretty well dialed in pretty fast. If I'm pretty fast, I mean, usually by halfway through audit time.
Did that change? Because it seems like when I was on board before, it always had been done. It said that if you bought something, it had to be physically in the school by July 1st.
Yeah, that's true. If we buy something out of this budget, it has to be here and paid for by June 30th. Now, the leftover money, and then we designate it for this, and this, then we have next year's spend. So you're remembering it correctly, but it's kind of 2 different processes. We couldn't, for example, order something in June and say, bring it in August and count it as an expenditure of this fiscal period unless we designated it with leftover dollars. So.
Any other questions on the budget report?
I know where daycare's not on here, but how's that like in Rome, so you're into that?
We will have, let me ask, in March, we were going to bring forward a Fund 80 report for our agenda. And then we closed because of COVID, the schools closed, the child care stayed open. I can say this, that we expected to run low because of startup costs, and we talked about that as a school board 18 months ago. We were definitely in the hole September, October, November, December, November, and then December, January, February numbers looked pretty good from that perspective of we were getting close, if not in the black for a couple of those months. Then COVID-19 hit and threw everything into a tailspin. So we can certainly bring those numbers forward, and I'm not unwilling to do that, but we will have to do that with caution. This has been a really weird. And I know I'm overstating the obvious. We did get a grant from some of the state monies that were awarded for 2 child cares that stayed open, and we got a pretty substantial grant to help with what I call expenses of being open, whatever that means, and that was to the tune of $31,000.
Is that for your salaries and stuff, you could?
Well, it was for school expenses. You could use it towards salaries, you could use it towards heat, light, rent, mortgage payments, if you had mortgage payments, any expense because you stayed open for, what's the word, I was gonna say crucial workers.
Essential workers.
Essential workers. And that was round 1. We will know more about round 2 and 3 in the next few weeks. But that was and that money will go in to help offset the cost of the Fund 80. So, those numbers will be reflected. So if you'd like to talk about Fund 80 child care, we can do that at the first July board meeting, second July board meeting.
I think it's important to at least know. I mean,
Sure.
We obviously understand what's going on, but. So then another question about Fund 80, you mentioned that the liaison officer would come out of there. If we're already in the red, where does that money come from?
Well, Fund 80 and child care, we have to keep those somewhat separate, even though child care is a subset of Fund 80. So Fund 80 may or may not be in the red. Child care we believe to be in. So, but remember, we levied $300,000 for Fund 80 last year to purchase what used to be known as the Appleseed building. So that obviously was a one-time expenditure of $235,000. So we'll have to figure the exact levy out as August, September, and October roll around before our annual meeting. But there's room to do that without levying additional dollars because $235,000 of that was a one-time levy. And so we think we can pay for the police officer grant and still lower the fund 80 levy. So knowing full well that we may have to levy some money to keep the child care until we get stabilized, depending on how long the coronavirus hangs around. So that a good chunk of our levy was a one-time expenditure.
Questions? Any other questions? All right, we'll kind of bring the daycare conversation back.
Yep. Lori, are you writing those things down?
Yeah.
Because I'll forget.
Fabulous, thank you.
Yep.
Let's move on to buildings and grounds.
Yeah, last meeting I had talked about some things that were going to be in a reopening plan. I was waiting to hear back from our friend Brian tonight, and I had talked about what I would consider the highlights of opening up on July, or in July. And in your packet, there was a plan that was broken out by athletics, and then I broke it apart by indoor and outdoor facilities, how we would function that way. And then there was a small section on non-athletics and classroom space. And primarily, really the highlights of opening up in July. I'm targeting July 6th because July 1st is a Wednesday, and as I talked to administration and so forth, we decided on the 6th. That the highlights really there were a few things that changed as I worked with Brian Kazmierski. One, on the inside, they kind of are allowing 50% of capacity of any given room for the acceptable number of people. So in our weight room, if it was just the weight room, that capacity of that room is about 20. So about 10 people would be allowed in that room. But in the gymnasium, we've had 2 classes of 30 kids in there, which is 60. So if you took half of that, you get 30. So between the weight room and the gymnasium, if we move some of our weight equipment into the gym, which we talked to Nate about, shouldn't be an issue, we can have roughly 30 to 40 people in a given weight room session. That's an example of what I mean by capacity of a room. And we also have some driver's ed that we're going to have on site here. And we want to have that in a large enough classroom. The largest enrollment right now in either one of the 2 classes is 17. So we figured that if we hold a driver's ed in the choir room, that's clearly large enough to have 17 people. So that's one of the highlights of this whole plan, is that we're going to go about 50% of capacity. Outside will be a maximum of 50 people in a camp or a clinic or those types of things. And they will be required to practice social distancing because, quite frankly, we have an infinite amount of space. We have a lot of space outside. So they recommend no more than 50 in any given group or outside. The concept of face masks, if you reread the CDC stuff or from the state of Wisconsin, they do not recommend face masks during physical activity. Now, we will certainly allow somebody in the way if they want to wear face masks and they feel more comfortable, that's fine. We will make it highly recommended for classroom work during the summer. Again, this is not a let's enter school in September plan, this is a July plan. So it'll be highly recommended for classroom work. No locker rooms will be available. I talked about that at the last meeting. The bathrooms by the high school gym will be open. What I call the public ability to get a drink out of a drinking fountain, the thing where you push the button, those will be disabled, but bottle fillers will still be available. Because it's still important to hydrate, whether you're lifting weights or running or whatever. In the weight room, there will be some limitations as far as how people will be allowed to lift. They will be allowed to lift any free weights at 75% of their maximum capability, because that way you don't have to have pre-planned spots. So if I can bench press 300 pounds, here's a dream. 73/4 of that is, I don't know, probably 2 1/4. Then I can lift that without spotters. So that's a small change. Each student will have to have their own water bottle. We will have a bottle of disinfectant on each apparatus in the weight room. The expectation is they will wipe before they lift and when they finish lifting. So that's the expectation. And the expectation, and I've had a conversation with most of our weight room supervisors, they said, look, this isn't something we're going to be very tolerant of, but if I walk in and people are, just laying down on the next machine without wiping it down, that can't go on. And quite honestly, this is a good training for our new weight facility when it gets built, because we need to take care of this stuff and we need to be cognizant of hygiene. We'll have lots of hand sanitizer machines around. All the doors will be propped open with the exception of the entry door to the building. Right now, we can prop doors open without compromising safety much. So, and then we'll have some additional signage. Other than that, I will answer questions, but that's really the highlight. There will be, open gyms, those types of things. We are not allowing competitions on our school grounds. For example, we're not going to have Little League baseball. Now, there are counties that are allowing that, but at this point, we haven't quite reached that point for our county. But then we know competitions are happening all around the country and around in counties near us. I think the girls basketball has a competition scheduled over for Barron for summer league. I think they're going to go to Barron play. So that will happen because that's all our school grounds.
So I have a couple of questions. One is specifically for, say we always run football, we run a middle school camp and a high school camp as designated, approved by the WIA. Are those able to take place, and if they do the kids' parents have to sign a waiver about COVID? And also, I've seen some things about that they're not allowed to touch footballs or they pass the football from a quarterback to a receiver and rules like that. Is that true, or is that just?
That was some original information that at the time was true, and I will look back into that. I think some of that has eased. I don't know about the waivers any longer, whether parents have to sign that. I do know that for the month of July, if you're going to hold camps and clinics, it was originally intended to be what I would call skill and drill and conditioning versus, football, hand-to-hand combat, or those types of things. And then from an equipment perspective, I believe what the new guidance is each student should be issued his or her own ball, and that's the one that they should be using. And if I throw the ball to you, you're gonna bring it back, they'll wipe it down real quick with a towel with disinfectant on it, and away we go again. So I think that has lightened some, but I'll do a double check on that.
And also on, the blocking.
I think that would be a very similar concept. We still don't know, and this isn't really for July opening, but we still don't know exactly where we're gonna be in soccer practice, and cross-country practice, and football practice, and volleyball practice, and golf practice are supposed to start. I mean, we know what dates there are, but we don't know what the real rules and expectations are quite yet. The WIA issued their guidance, but I'm not certain it was guidance beyond suggestions, and you'll have to make your own local decisions, which, that's okay. I think when people thought guidance was coming, they thought it was gonna be statewide, but I'm not certain you can issue statewide guidance, because certain parts of the state are so different than certain parts of the state. I'm not gonna pick on any one particular geographic region, but it's awfully tough to issue an edict for a state our size, or its size.
So, and then the question, waivers for those camps?
Um,
That WASB would provide to us?
If we do need them, I can get them from WASB. I don't know if we have to have code-specific waivers. I mean, any other waiver that they normally would sign for those camps would still be in effect. I will double check on, if there's an additional waiver suggested.
I think, what I've heard through Joe and Dan, was that they're planning on not having our annual wrestling camp in the summer.
Yeah, I think Dan was in this week or late last week and indicated that was not going to happen this year.
That's, it's like 100 kids here.
Yeah.
I mean, they could do it even just for our kids, but I know some of our kids are wrestling tonight, right now, they're on the Devils in competitions.
Mhm.
I don't know how that happens, but.
We actually had that very conversation this morning at our superintendent's meeting. And, you know, each county is different, and, we had a meeting yesterday via Zoom that had 797 participants on it, and people were talking about those very things. Depending on what county you go to, it's either still very strict, or in one county over, it's almost as though it never existed. And, that'll be some of the inconsistencies that we'll have to deal with as administrators, that, hey, that county's doing X and Y, but again, we follow our county people fairly religiously, so, but, no,
It'll be interesting to see what happens with wrestling as a whole. We were, given the team for the individual section, which is a huge thing, so kind of hoping wrestling goes on.
it'll be great.
I think the WIA came out last week with recommendations, and we're not, I mean, it talks about different levels of high risk, low risk, medium, whatever, and all that kind of stuff, and we're not, we're not following, I'm not saying we should, because like where we're at, we don't have, the cases that, Milwaukee, Madison area do. They talk about spotting, as making sure you have 2 spotters instead of 1 directly over and different things like that too, so that may be something to think about.
Yeah.
Because, they say you want to make sure, you can't just leave somebody there if they're struggling.
No, and that's what Brian said this morning. We talked a little bit about waivers. They said, look, you can still spot, but you're going to begin at a social distance. But if somebody's struggling, you're going to go in and take the weight off their arms or whatever and get it back in the rack, simply because, most exposure takes more than just that little bit of time that you're going to go and get a weight back on. Most of the exposure is a certain amount of time, a certain distance. So there is very little, and I would never say none, but very little danger of going in and spotting somebody getting in the rack and be gone. So,
Did I ever say that the kids would be tested when they're coming in?
no,
Temperature?
no, re-entry does not have that. Some schools have pondered that. I don't know if any schools are doing that in July. I don't know of any schools right now, and it's too far away to contemplating doing it in September. We just think the logistics would be, logistics, fairness, and consistency, we don't think would be there, and I'll give you a what if. I've been temporal scanned only 2 or 3 times since this has begun, and one time it was twice in 5 minutes, and my temperature was 2.5 degrees Celsius. Same thermometer. And also, if you're scanning children, as we heard today, this morning, you're supposed to be inside your environment for at least 20 minutes. Otherwise, the temperature could be colder or warmer than it is truly. So, because some schools said, well, yeah, we were considering scanning our children. They said, but if you're not scanning them when they get on the school bus, the cows are already out of the barn by the time you get to school. And they said, oh, yeah, you're not wrong, man. That's not going to be a bus driver's job. Bus driver is to drive a bus.
Shoot them all when they're coming in.
I think every child care provider can attest to that, a little time on our program for a long time.
Yep.
Too easily.
As will a large cup of coffee with no lid on it. Some person said they were temporal scanned and read like 104, and they felt fine and didn't have fever. So sometimes you need to be kind. One thing I did want to mention on the July opening is I indicated that there would be a separate kids care plan. We are planning on opening up kids care as normal, as a summer school program on July 6th. The costs per kid, per student is in there for family, the registration, check-in. Now, the check-in for this program every day, Rita, I'm going to ask you to elaborate just a little bit on how we're going to monitor the health of those students.
Well, we did have, actually, with the, and the guidelines changed so quickly, it's hard to keep up. We did have that we would do a daily temperature check, but upon hearing the information that you got yesterday on that, I'm not sure that we want to continue. We may want to discuss that later, but we will have a table so that a parent has to bring a child in because they do have a weekly form they have to fill out that says they don't have any symptoms. They've checked, there's not a lot of teeth behind it, but it's just an extra level of thinking about what you're doing before you put your kids in with other kids. We, like I said, we did have temperature checks, but I'm not sure if we're going to do that anymore.
And we can check with Brian on that.
Yeah.
It's a different animal. This program is.
Yeah.
But really, as we discussed this morning as superintendents, this has to truly now become even more of a partnership between families and the school district. Because I think the overwhelming majority of parents really want school to be normal. But if you want that, you have to work with us and monitor your children and talk to your children and say, and keep them home if they're not feeling well. And know that it's okay to keep them home if they're not feeling well. So it's a little bit of a different feel. But primarily the kids care, kind of putting on some parents that they are going to attest that.
They have to attest. Every week they'll have a form that they have to fill out, and the form will go right to a spreadsheet so that we will not let kids come in unless that's been filled out. And that's why there's a daily physical check-in. You have to check your child in with an adult before kids could just come in. But we're going to need to make that eye contact with the adult every single day.
And the 50% concept will also be honored in kids care, knowing that it's primarily, not exclusively, but primarily in the cafeteria down after school. That cafeteria comfortably seats 2 classes of children, so let's say 140, 120. So we're going to cut it off at 60.
It's 60 unless there's greater demand, and then we'll start
Then we
looking
go
for,
for second site.
we'll still look for second site. We will have access to the computer lab, but the goal is to spend as much time outside as possible.
Yep.
And we've got stickers on the table so the kids will know where they can sit. We'll practice social distancing as best we can. I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for a trial run.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be able to kind of test drive some of our thoughts, and as we determine what we're going to do in September, and when I open my mouth and say, let's do this, we didn't say, look, we tried this, we tried to adjust this, it just didn't work, we need to find a better way.
Yeah, and masks,
Okay.
we still have to address that too, because unfortunately, with the age range of kids we have, the guidelines are different for different age ranges. And so it's hard to have some kids in masks and some kids not in masks. And they, you know, we want them to be physically active too, so there's gonna be a learning curve.
So we think we have a pretty good plan for July. I will bring a plan for August forward in July, much like I did this. Part of what my July plan did not have on it is because we haven't solidified it yet, is what I'm going to call true summer school, which would be our June summer school, but it will probably be the last week of July and the first couple of weeks of August. I will get information out as our administrative team determines how we're going to do that. I think it's important that if things stay as they are and they don't spike rapidly, that we offer some summer school for two reasons. And they're both equally important this year, is social and emotional for the kids and educational for the kids. Our students, not just our students, but all students, need to have that social and emotional aspect, and make an argument that perhaps some families are getting together with other families, and that's okay, but it's still less than it is in a normal summer. There's no Little League, there's no swim lessons, there's no open soccer, there's no summer or soccer program this year, through nobody's fault. So if it's doable, we will be doing a summer school last week in July, first couple of weeks in August.
I think it gives us a chance for to acclimate the kids also to what fall's going to be.
I couldn't agree more. If they learn nothing else, that's perfect time to do that.
And staff.
Yeah, understand.
And also just a feeling of safety.
Yes.
Kids and parents that are very nervous, but yet very excited.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna do the weight room, because they used to have like 3 sessions, so they could have a lot more kids.
Yeah,
We'll have more sessions.
We'll probably expand the number of sessions. We'll expand into the gym so we can get up to that 30 or so, but I don't know if we had many more than 30.
Not hard.
That was probably,
Usually 3 or 4 days a week that I would stop in and see kids kind of, come in when they get up or whatever. In the last couple of years, we've had it that they have to be there at a certain time for that group. Because not only do they lift, but they do a lot of plyometrics together and stretching flexibility together, so the whole gamut. So that has changed. It used to be kids would just come in, lift, and go, but now when they're there, they have to go through the set program. And I've never seen any really extremely large groups.
I think 3 or 4 sections should accommodate it. And I'm glad Doc said what he said, because we will make students commit to a time frame. And, it's not going to be, well, I might be at 6, but I might be at 7. So you're going to have to commit. And if 7 o'clock fills up, you're going to have to commit to 6 or 8 or 9 or whatever. Just simply because we can't take that chance of having 41 kids show up. Because then the last 11 show up, and we'll stay outside until the next session. So we'll ask them to commit when they sign.
Any other questions about the July?
But when's that going to start? Is it going to start?
July 6th, that's a Monday. It also gives us a little bit more time to get information out, as well as get the building ready during that last week of June, the signing and stuff.
Do we have a meeting set up with the leader instructors?
I'm going to get information out tomorrow to who I envision being primarily the weight room people. I will copy the entire admin team, and I'll copy the reporting on all my communications out to people who are utilizing the building. Sarah will certainly copy that, because she's going to be booking the facility for just about everything. So.
Well, I would hope that to anticipate higher numbers just because.
I would agree. I would fully agree. I could see where we're going to need 5 sessions, and that's 150 kids. That's almost half of our high school enrollment, and so somewhere between 150 and 200 kids. Yes. Yep.
And community members historically?
For summer school, as long as they're of school age, they can be in our summer school programs.
And we will get all the coaches too on that.
Yep. Yep.
I think they kind of have an ad hoc meeting, check with Dean.
Okay. Dan's going to call me in the morning, so that may be it.
Any other questions or comments on the July meeting? Hearing none, let's move on to our board meeting. Let's call this meeting to order. It is what time? It's 14 p.m. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brett McCurdy,
Yes.
Pat Mitchell, Steve Bond,
Yes.
Ronnie Schuler,
Here.
Matt Bray.
Here.
Matt, would you read the mission statement and book and read for us?
Sure.
Here.
Thank you. All right, mission statement. Mission statement of the school district of St. Croix Falls is to provide a supportive, student-centered learning environment that cultivates character, fosters academic excellence, and embraces diversity. Board meeting rules, focus on the mission and the vision statements of the district. Come prepared, be respectful of others and open and accepting of ideas. Actively participate, avoid side conversations, and remember board meetings are an open forum.
Thank you, Matt. Moving through the agenda, superintendent comments?
Yeah, a few. I mentioned the Polk County Superintendent's meeting that we had today. Was really a breath of fresh air, in that Brian is going to work with us to kind of get as close to a common entry plan as possible. We know it's not going to be exact. Right now, we don't know exactly what the plan's going to be, but it was a very productive meeting with 9 superintendents and Brian. We met with our insurance carrier today for property and casualty renewal, and this was not news to Lorraine. It'll be a small increase in our premium, about 2%. And if you have been reading articles in the local, not local, but statewide newspapers in the last year, property and casualty insurers kind of took it on the chin last year, a little bit weather-wise, from tornadoes and floods and so forth. So it was an expected increase. Our experience hasn't gone awry. It's just, that's an industry trend. So not debilitating financially by any stretch. No word on the budgets from the state, as I had alluded to at our last school board meeting. Again, I will just reiterate, I think it's best to be cautious with any salary increases. I'm not suggesting there will be no salary increases for the school year, but at this time, I think it's premature to talk about it when we don't know what our budget's going to look like. And when I say we don't know what our budget's going to look like, I mean from a revenue perspective from the state.
Mark, on that, so what do you do with contracts? And
Well, contracts are issued with a term in there that says your salary will be no less than, which we always use the school year salary that they're earning. So if I made $50,000 last year, that's what's on my contract for this year, not less than $50,000. So people are going to be getting paid at the rate they're getting paid. Well, it's technically still this school year, July 1st. So it doesn't affect anything. Then, let's say in November, the state says, you're going to get all the money we're supposed to get, and we can go into meet and confer, we can talk about raises, then we'll do back pay, and we will give them a salary adjustment sheet that will tell them what the new salary is for the 2021 school year.
what if it has to go the other way?
Well,
Say the government meets, and they say you're losing money.
then we need to find a way to make that work, because contracts are issued by state law by May 15th. And the only way you can lower contract value is by not renewing somebody. So anybody that has a contract will get paid what they're supposed to get paid in their contract for this year. I can't imagine that it would be so draconian that we wouldn't be able to honor these contracts. Because we do have